keep experiencing that same drama every single year if we don't make a change. The holidays can be a really tough time for trades businesses. Tune into this episode where we discuss how to not just survive through the holidays, but thrive and get the jump on the new year.
And then your cash flow suffers, and it's just this massive effect where there's cash going out, there's way less cash coming in, it's going in the wrong direction.
You can charge higher prices during these times because, demand's going to outweigh supply. So it's just law of economics, really. All right. Welcome to the podcast. I'm your host today, Phil Smith, and I'm here with Cam Hill, our Director of Coaching. Welcome, Cam.
What's up, man? Good to be here.
Yeah, good to have you here, man. What are we talking about today?
We're talking about that holiday time of year, Christmas, New Year's, where it gets absolutely manic at the end of the year. There's everyone and anyone trying to get you to finish jobs, start new jobs, cram jobs in, and the start of the year where it becomes patchy, bit of a ghost town. And clients aren't ready, you're not ready, team's not ready, and honestly, results aren't there, and you believe that it has to be that way.
Yeah, pretty tough time of year. Well, at least it can be if we don't prep right, which is what we're getting into today.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it should be good. I've got a story to kick us off, if you don't mind.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, well, this story is actually about Oprah. Everyone loves Oprah, right? I know you're a big fan.
What's under your seat, Phil?
Well, since I've got a car for you. I've got a car for you. No, but seriously, so this lady goes on Oprah, right? And she's on there because she makes the perfect meatloaf. So this is a big deal, okay? Like, people are tuning in, they're ready to roll. And they see this lady, she brings out her meatloaf, brings it on the serving tray, and everyone's like, whoa, And then she cuts the end off the meatloaf and sets it to the side. Now, they're about to tuck in, and Oprah goes, hang on, why did you cut the end off that meatloaf? And she goes, you know what, I've just always done that. It's just always the way that I've cooked it. And Oprah won't stand for that. She's like, no, but why? Like, is it something to do with letting the meat sit? Is there something about the flavor? And the lady says, you know what, I got this recipe off my mum. And when my mum used to cook it, she always used to cut the end off the meatloaf. So that's why I do it. And so Oprah's like, being Oprah, I'm not going to stand for that. So they're like, let's call mum and find out why. So then they call the mum. And the mum gets on the phone and she's like, well, you know what, I just always did it that way because I got this recipe off my mum. And she used to cut the end off the meatloaf. And so then they're like, you know what, let's call grandma. So they get on the phone, they call grandma, they get her on there, they're talking to her. And then she says, the reason I used to cut the end off the meatloaf is because I used to make the meatloaf in a baking tray, which was one size, but I used to serve the meatloaf on a serving tray, which was slightly smaller. So I had to cut the end off of the meatloaf once it was finished, set it to the side, or it wouldn't fit on the serving dish. Now, why do I tell this story? Basically because the way that this meatloaf has been cooked for 3 generations depended on the serving size tray of something 3 generations ago. So essentially they just did it that way because they'd always done it that way without even really thinking about it or questioning it. Now, when it comes to the holiday period, I think a lot of us are going to struggle with a really crazy December leading up to, that Christmas break. Everyone just wants things done right now. It's absolutely manic. You're jam-packed. And then you follow that with an absolutely ghostly January that, completely sucks. You probably even have a shutdown. And it really just can kill the start of your year. But you only do that because you've always done it. It actually doesn't have to be that way. And there's lots of stuff that you could do to change this phenomenon. But the fact that you've always done it that way is going to lead you to keep doing things this way and keep experiencing that same drama every single year if we don't make a change. So what we're really here to do today is to look into why the holidays work out like they do and what we can do to actually make that change so that we stop cutting the end off the meatloaf blindly.
Actually, that would have been a good facepalm moment for her.
Yeah.
Now she gets to enjoy more meatloaf.
Yeah, and I'm sure everyone got a car at the end. But anyway, point is, if we're looking at this, if we don't prep for Christmas properly and we don't actually look at this holiday period the right way, we're going to run into some big problems.
First one that comes to mind for me is it's like feast and then famine. So, you're absolutely cranking till Christmas. Most people can resonate with this. Everyone wants you to finish jobs. Everyone wants you to cram jobs in before it gets to that holiday period where people are on vacations or people are having lots of family over. That way toilets are ready so people can actually use them, the thousands of people that come to visit.
Nothing worse than having the family around and your toilet's blocked.
Yeah, or everyone using the ensuite. How fun. The kitchen's done, so the feast can be made for the Christmas Day table. And what happens is the team feel it and you feel it and things are going well, it seems, but it's stress city. But then January comes. And when January comes, or maybe even February comes, there's gaps in the workflow. You're scrambling to try and organize clients, organize team, try get jobs actually moving forward so you can invoice them. And it's like there's nothing there.
Yeah, it's pretty tough. Yeah, and obviously that momentum dies as well. Like, you just came off this huge momentum and then it's gone. Yeah. And you really want to get the jump on the year, but you just can't. And you're sort of trying to get people back from holiday and get people back in work mode and try to get your clients back in work mode, and that feast you had in December just turns into that famine of the new year. So pretty rough. What else do we run into?
Look, it honestly leads to some like pretty bad performance. The reality is even though it's feast time in December, like you do end up shutting off a bunch of the month anyway. Like that last week is usually a no-go zone, or you at least believe it has to be that way, where we've got to shut down, and then you don't have the results from the end of January, the end of December. You don't have results from the start of January, and then when we're talking about what we're just saying, where there's gaps in the work, you end up suffering on your revenue line, and honestly, almost both months most of the time, or even February if you're not organized. And when your revenue's not there and your team are away and you're scrambling to organize clients and all the rest, your gross profit suffers because you're not getting jobs out, and your net profit suffers, and then your cash flow suffers, and it's just this massive effect where, because you still have bills to pay, because you still have to pay your team, and you have to pay your taxes, and you have to pay your rent and all the other expenses that are on your business, there's cash going out, there's way less cash coming in, and it's going in the wrong direction.
Yeah, well, everything starts to hurt, right? And what else?
Look, you end up busy for nothing, man. You work your butt off, right? Like you are slamming the team, you're slamming yourself in December trying to get everything done, and you're really stressed. You feel that, and when you look at the results at the end of the day, your profit and loss, your cash in the bank account, it's not there. It's like you've done all of this work for zero result, and you end up stressed through the holiday season, probably getting your laptop out on Christmas Day, instead of spending time with your family, instead of spending time with, other loved ones, friends, or taking the actual time away to relax. And it ends up being that to actually switch off, if you want to switch off over that time of year, you end up taking like 2 weeks to even get work off your brain, if you can, before you can even start to relax. And you end up just coming back into work, still being the same stressed guy that you did at the end of last year, trying to get everything done.
Only worse because now you're in a cash flow hole.
Yeah.
And so that stress is really, really built, and you weren't able to actually enjoy that time. So on the other hand, if we can prep for this right, start to do things differently, some big opportunities on the horizon.
Yeah, look, first one is you got cash in your bank. So, all of the bills that need to be paid can be paid. You can pay your team. If there's bonuses that need to be paid, you don't have to stress about this sort of stuff if you plan and really well and you do this well. That means that, cash is one of those things that is on your mind if it's not there, and it's not on your mind if it's not there. So, if these things are moving, cash flow's moving in a positive direction, that's the first one that comes to mind for me.
Yeah, man. What else?
Look, second one's consistent results. Your profit and loss doesn't have to be this thing where it's a flat line or a growing line through the year, and then it's just got this massive dip when it comes to December, January, or February, and then slowly climbs back up. Like we get those consistent results when it comes to revenue, when it comes to gross profit, net profit, and cash in your bank. And when I say consistent, what I really mean is it's going in that upward trajectory, which we want to see. And then the last one is you can actually relax. If you get this right, and you do a good job of planning to like really thrive through this holiday season, you can actually take the time to be with your family and to have the laptop closed and to actually be present with your kids. You can be Santa if you want to, and put the little footprints down from the chimney.
Dig those track marks in the driveway where the sleigh landed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You do that stuff for your kids, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely, man.
Good, man.
Oh, those track marks are there anyway. We've got plenty of potholes. No, just kidding. All right, cool. Well, hey, I think obviously a lot to be gained. So where do we start with this, man? Like, obviously, a lot of people are going to be experiencing this phenomenon. So they'll be like, this all sounds great, but what do I actually do?
Yeah, first one for me is the 6 Ps. If you haven't heard this, is prior planning prevents piss poor performance. All right.
Pretty tough one for you there, Cam. Bit of a tongue twister.
Oh, it absolutely was.
Prior planning prevents piss poor performance. There we go.
Thank you, Phil.
Yeah, got it, man. Hey, seashells, or whatever.
You didn't finish it. You're
no,
worried.
I can't do it, man. It's too hard.
Yeah, look, you might have heard that before. You might have heard, failing to plan is planning to fail. All these sorts of taglines are actually really prevalent when it comes to this. There's lots of things to plan, but if you get it right and you start at the right time, you'll ace this, because you don't want to do this in December when it's manic. You want to do this earlier when you have a bit of free time and can get other people to help you get it done. So, planning who's going to be sending the invoices, who's going to be talking to the team about actually making sure that, like, if we've got team members that want to take holidays and if we've got team members that don't want to take holidays at that time of year and they'd rather work, you can organize that all in advance. There's a reality here. Not every single person in your team wants to take a holiday at that time of year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like you and I have had this conversation. Like, I don't want to go down to the beach on Christmas Day or the day after Christmas or around that time where I'm sitting literally next to the guy who's got sunblock all up his arm and he's like, greasy arm touching. I don't want to do that. The beaches are full.
Oh man, for me it's that whole thing of the holidays when I'm driving the caravan somewhere with the kids and the traffic's just nuts, and it's like, man, it's a pain. It's an absolute pain. Kids are going nuts in the back seat. The journey takes 3 times as long. You can't pass people because I'm dragging this hell of a caravan. Like the whole thing's just manic. So like, yeah, I mean, we do this all the time, right? Both me and you will take, all the stat days off around Christmas and spend time with the family, Christmas Day, all that kind of thing, of course. But then we don't take a big long holiday there. Like both of us actually like to work over this period as much as we
Go
can.
in Feb.
Yeah, I'd rather take a time off in February. It's a better time of year. Nobody else on the road, nobody else on the beach. It's great.
Yeah, I think the point is, if you have that conversation, then you can actually take stock of what you have within your team.
But it comes back to that preparation, right? And I think when we say prior, we're not, like you said, we're not talking about doing this at the start of December or even the end of November. We're talking like, early. You want to be doing this around sort of October. Even early October is ideal because, it's not just preparation of the availability of your tradesmen and like, who's going to do what when different people are away so that things don't stop. Because again, like if nobody's invoicing during that period because the person who normally does it is away, well then things can really get into a backlog. You don't end up getting paid. It exacerbates your cash flow situation. But also like things like marketing. So speaking to your clients, because a lot of people are going to say, well, my clients shut down over Christmas. My clients, have a shutdown period in the start of Jan, so we have no work to do. Well, the thing is like if you start talking to them about that now, chances are they don't want that either. Like they only have that shutdown period because they've always had it. Like they're essentially cutting the end off the meatloaf as well. But actually, like if you talk to them, they'll also be like, well, hey, that's just the way it is. You say, well, look, mate, like, what if it didn't have to be that way? What if, a few of your team actually wanted to work? What if we could keep 1 or 2 of these projects going? What if that would keep us both, at least somewhat busy over those weeks? And instead of having 0 weeks, we've got half weeks, so that there's still some work going on. It just requires talking to your team, really.
Yeah. What you're talking about is win-win for the clients
exactly.
too.
But it's something that we could organise together if we organise it early. Whereas if I start talking to my clients in December, it's too late. They've already given all their guys leave. Their guys have booked holidays, and it's too late. But the other thing as well is like if you really can't keep any work going, if you're the type of person whose work does shut down, and none of your clients want to play ball, well, that's cool. You could start marketing for some different type of work, at least temporarily. If you do that in October and you do it through October and November, you could likely fill a lot of January and just for January, and then you don't have to keep doing that marketing after that. But it can fill that January while all of your projects are waiting to kick off again in, say, Feb. But the thing is, if you start marketing that in December, it's too late. You're not going to fill January. Whereas if you start in October, you've actually got a reasonable shot. Because there's lots and lots of jobs that still want to be done early January, not just reactive maintenance, which is an obvious one. Obviously, reactive maintenance, it's like that's going to be actually quite scarcely available. So you could get a lot of that if you marketed for it. But on top of that, like people's projects, like I just think about myself, right? So I've got a couple of projects we're doing at my house at the moment. We're retrofitting double glazing for all the windows. Like I had bought quite an old house, nice big piece of land. It's great, but obviously not double glazed windows, so it gets a bit cold. So we're doing that big job. Pain in the bum to have that happening while all the kids are home and we're trying to enjoy ourselves at home. So when was the perfect time to do it? Well, I'm about to go to Australia with the family next week, so I'm like, cool, like it's getting done then. While we're not here, I'll get home and it'll be finished. So again, if you think about that, like little like projects like that around people's homes even, it's great to do that during the holidays. If they're going away, they can just go away and come back and it's done. And so like that's actually a great outcome. But we often tell ourselves, well, people are away, so they won't want the job done. The point is if you start preparing for this and marketing for things and talking to people about this stuff now, you actually have a really good chance of fixing January. Whereas if you leave it too late, you have no chance. It's just too hard.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which really brings me to the next point, which is about communication. Like, we got to over communicate, right?
Yeah, you do, and you can segment this to different people. But I think the thing that we often think is that we talk too much as it is, but really you need to do way more than you're comfortable to. Honestly, is the reality.
Well, for me or you, that's going to be a lot, man.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
maybe for most people. Yeah. But when you think about clients and say you work with builders or homeowners, it really doesn't matter. But like for a builder or a general contractor, if you're going to do work on a site, you want to make sure that they're ready when you're prepared to show up. And so there's the early part of, hey, we're available through this time period. Like, we can make this work. Let's move this project forward. And then there's the planning to make sure that you do this over the whole period as well. So what does the communication need to look like? Well, we're showing up on, the 28th of December. If that's actually the plan, like, you want to make sure that the site's ready, everybody's ready, like, talk to them 2 weeks before, talk to them the week before, talk to them the day before. When it comes to your homeowners, like, texts and emails and phone calls to make sure that everything is ready to go for you.
Well, I suppose it's that early communication, like we said, so you can organize these things that wouldn't normally happen, but then it's that constant communication as well, because if you're asking people to do things differently and it's not the way they normally would do it, then it's easy for them to forget and stuff things up in terms of scheduling. Not only that, but obviously if you're working with homeowners, then that obviously this might not be weird for them to do work at times which might be feeling weird to you. It's not weird to them. But the thing is that this is still a busy time of year for everybody, and so it's easy for them to forget that you come in and things like that. You just want to over communicate. It's a busy time of year. People's heads are all over the place. Lots on their mind. It can be stressful. So you just want to make sure you over-communicate so everyone's clear and you don't have any stuff-ups.
I think one easy thing to do, especially with homeowners, is if you're available through that time, tell them again and again and again. The reality is lots of people are in that boat of we close over the Christmas period or the New Year period, the holiday period. And if most people are closed for 2 or 3 weeks, if you're the guy that's open, like, they'll want to come to you because you're the guy that's open.
Well, there's still stuff that's going to need to happen, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like, the amount of times we'll be on some kind of holiday period here at home, and like something will happen. It might be that you need to go and pick up some takeaways. It might be that you need to go and get something from a shop. It might be that you need a tradesperson out to your house. But I'll turn to my wife and say, "Hey, look, we need to do this," and she's like, "No one will be open. It's holiday." But that's not true. There's always someone open, and best thing about that is that person usually gets to charge a premium because demand is actually the same as it always has been, but supply is way lower because people are going to take time off. If you're not really taking time off, then demand is going to way outweigh supply, and as a result, your price should go up. So that's where like surge pricing comes in. We've had an episode on this before, but if you're going to be open in a prime time when no one else is open, then you're a scarce resource and you should be more expensive during that time. People will be willing to pay it because at the end of the day, if it's Christmas Day or Boxing Day or something like that, and you happen to have 1 or 2 people on call, and I'm at home and my toilet's blocked, like I might have 15 people at my house, maybe more. And if the toilet's blocked, like we got a problem, man. And so the thing is, it's like what I might be willing to pay on a general day, or might be like thinking is normal. I mean, I might pay double that on Christmas Day because I'm like, firstly, I understand it's Christmas Day, like it's going to be more expensive. I get it. Secondly, this is a bigger problem today than normal, so like I'm willing to pay, just come out. So I think the thing is like if you can be communicating a lot, people that know that you're available. And then the other thing is that you can charge higher prices during these times because demand's going to outweigh supply. So it's just law of economics, really.
Probably my last point on over communicate is do it with your team as well. So like we said before, check availability, talk to them about job scheduling and all that sort of stuff like well in advance. But then same thing, there's the prior communication and then there's the continuous communication. You want to make sure that the right people know where they should be at the right time throughout this period so everything can move forward and get executed really well. It's the same principle.
Yeah, and again, nice and early, guys, because like I said, like me or you, we don't like taking a lot of time off over that period. Yeah. I'd rather do it later, so would you. But the thing is if we are in the mindset of we always have a shutdown, for example, then we might have gone and booked holidays or, planned trips away with the family, planned to visit other family, whatever, over that time. And so if we only get spoken to about this, a week out from Christmas, well, it's too late. We've got plans, Whereas if we get spoken to about this, in October, early November, we'll be like, oh, actually, that's a great idea. I wouldn't mind doing that. I don't mind working over that period. And then, wow, I got to take a holiday later, like when no one else is going to be around. That sounds amazing. I'd love to do that. But if you can catch people before they've made other plans, then you're in the clear. Whereas if you leave it too late, you're stuffed. So it's not going to work.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, what do we do next?
We need to be marketing nonstop, 100% of the time. Always be marketing. You said this before, but the thing that I see all the time is, as people come into the program like really new, what they'll do when they're really busy. And this is one of those times of year where it's like, cool, it's October, like we're cranking and all the way to the end of the year is booked and I feel really
October,
good about
November
it.
And the start of December, they're usually pretty good.
Let's turn the taps off. Let's turn the Google ads off. Let's stop marketing on Facebook. Let's stop trying to contact new builders. Exactly. And look, the whole thing here is, if you go back to the first thing we talked about at the start of this, feast then famine, you need to be marketing nonstop. And if you're marketing to other businesses, keep sending out what you're doing. Like if you send sales letters out or packages out, or you're booking sales meetings, you need to continue to do this, because you want to be able to lean on those people for the January, the February, to make sure your workflow's good. If you have Google ads running, or Facebook ads running, or Instagram or TikTok ads running, and you have this system set up for marketing, you want to maintain that even when you're really busy. And the thing to remember is that when you have lots of leads coming in, that gives you the power of choice, and you can choose how you operate through to the end of the year, and then you will have work going into January, February. You want to keep the marketing and the sales happening non-stop.
I think on that, if you end up oversold, like if you end up with too many leads, which is obviously everyone's fear, that's usually why they turn their marketing off, is because they're like, well, we're busy as, we don't need anything else.
Don't want to let people down.
So you turn your marketing off. But the reality is like, if you're getting a whole bunch of leads, like one thing you can do is you can always just ask them, hey, is this really a priority to get done before Christmas, or would early January be okay? Yeah. And they'll say, oh, I'd rather before Christmas. And you say, cool, like, was there a big reason, like, were you having people over or anything? They're like, oh, well, no, not really. I just want to have it all wrapped up by Christmas. And you say, that's cool. Hey, we're booked out until X. By the way, those last 2 weeks before Christmas, like, those incur our premium pricing. Reason is because, like, people are very reactive, and, obviously it's a busy time of year. And there's lots of emergency jobs, and so like it's a premium rate at that time of year. So if you want us to get it done, then we absolutely can book it in now. It'll be at X rate, premium price. Yeah. Or if it's not a huge priority to be done before Christmas, you just want it done as soon as possible, we could actually do this in the first week or two of January, at which point it goes back to our normal rate of Y, which is lower. So the thing is, if this is absolutely a high priority before Christmas, that's cool. We can do it at higher rate. Or if you just want it done as soon as possible, we can get it done first couple of weeks of January. It's cheaper. Now there'll be a percentage of people that are like, no, really, I need that new patio before Christmas because I got people coming over, or I need these downlights above the kitchen table, before Christmas because I got people coming over. And there's other people that are going to be like, you know what, like, I do want it done as soon as possible. It'd be great to have it done before Christmas, but damn, if that's cheaper, like first week of January is fine. And so as a result, like, you push out some of that bottleneck that you're having before Christmas that usually is going to drive you nuts and give you like a couple, maybe a decent month, but then really starve out your January. You can actually push some of those into January, and you didn't have to discount it. It's just your normal rate. It's just they would have paid more if it's in December, which makes December even better. So it's like a triple win, really.
Absolutely.
So if you end up oversold, it's like, well, fine. So just manage that pipeline a bit differently. But if you communicate with your clients about it through that sales process, then like people understand what's going on, they know what their options are, and they can choose accordingly. And a lot of people are actually going to fill themselves into those first couple of weeks of Jan, which otherwise would have sucked. So it's like, you really can't lose with that. But the thing is, you have to always be marketing. If you're not, you end up stuffed. And this happens throughout the year, but where, you get busy, so you stop marketing, stop looking for new opportunities, stop selling, because you're just too busy, you're head down, bum up, getting work done. And then you finally get it all done, you come up for air and you realize you've got an empty pipeline because you haven't been actually chasing any more work. It's just completely a bottleneck around Christmas. And so this happens, in a kind of exaggerated way.
Do you want to talk to the readiness of marketing, where you have the things that you do constantly, like what I was talking about before, but then it's also really beneficial to have things like little buttons to push or levers to pull when it comes to things to send out to try and win more work if you get some sort of hole. So like, what would be something that you'd recommend somebody could do if they were wanting to ready an email to send out to their database or something to try and win some work to fill a gap?
Well, this actually comes back to prior preparation for me. So I think at this time of year, before you're absolutely slammed, you should be spending some time, putting together some offers. So I think if you can get together, 5, 6, 7 offers that you could run over that Christmas period and the New Year period, then you can have them ready now, and then you can just bang them out through that month. Because if you try to remember to write different offers during the month, put them in an email, make a Facebook ad about it, whatever, you just won't. You can be too busy. Whereas if you get these all ready now, you can actually schedule them up and have them so they go out automatically. But you can make them now while you have the headspace. And again, lots of scarcity urgency offers that you can run over this time.
Bang on.
Hey, it's a busy time of year, just to make sure that you get your project done before Christmas, make sure that you book now in October. So that we can make sure that you actually hit your deadline. Or, hey, look, we're about to come into the busy time of year, and with that comes our premium rate that we need to charge to make sure that we can get to everybody's emergencies. On the other hand, we've got this amazing deal where if you book in the first couple of weeks of January, you can get X product for X deal if you book now, etc. There's other scarcity urgency offers where you can say, hey, look, we've got a Christmas deal on XYZ. Now it's this price. For example, we got hot water units were X amount of money, now this amount of money. We got a deal from the merchant for Christmas or something like that. But the thing is you can just make a handful of offers, pop each one in an email. You could film a video about each one, which you can use for your socials. You can have a written ad, which you can use in your socials, which is pretty much the email, with an image or a video. And then just basically schedule these all up. Have one that goes every couple of weeks, basically from now until end of January. And as a result, you're actually, you're keeping that marketing going. Yeah. But you got to prepare it now, because you won't do this in December when you're flat out. And then when you start doing it in January, it's too late. Like, if it works, you're going to maybe have a busy end of Feb, which you probably will have anyway. So it's too late. You missed the boat. So do it now.
Nice one.
What do we do next?
We want to make sure that we look at our cash. So we want to plan for our cash flow. So what I mean by that is cash flow forecasting. And really what you want to do with this, just to try and, we could talk about this for a long time.
Yeah.
But
I'll just give a high level.
I'll try and keep it short. But really what you want to be doing through this period is you want to plan what your cash flow is going to look like, so you can forecast what your bank balance will look like each week coming into Christmas and going into the new year, into January and February. And look, my advice with this is do this anyway. Do this all the time, no matter what. Don't just do this around Christmas and holiday period. You should do this all the time. That's a fundamental of business. But in a nutshell, what you're looking at is when money will be coming in. So that's the due dates of your invoices. So when the money hits your bank account in the cash flow form, so including any sort of tax. And then when any expenses are going out. So that's, paying your field staff or your techs, that's paying for any materials. So not when you get the invoice, but when the money leaves your bank account. And then the same for every single expense in your business. Taxes, any vehicle like loan payments, anything like rent, insurance, accounting fees, all of this sort of stuff. If you have a good plan for your cash flow, what you'll have is an ability to be able to see if there's any holes and when the right time to spend money is. One of the things that I see lots and lots of trades businesses do is pay Christmas bonuses out on the last week of December when they have this current problem of like poor results. It's like the worst cash flow problem. There's taxes, there's bonuses, there's average performance. And look, all of the stuff that we're talking about today is going to like make you have a great holiday period from a results perspective, not a poor one. But at the same time, you still want to know what your cash flow story is going to look like because it allows you to look at it in advance. And if there's anything that you need to go and do, like talk to suppliers or get some extra credit or anything like that, like just, worst case scenario, you can do that in advance and not be thinking about that during that holiday time.
Yeah, well, there's nothing worse than realizing, in the middle of your Christmas break, you're having lunch with the family, it's all very nice, and you get an email reminder come through about the overdue bill that you haven't paid, and then you check your bank account and you realize there's no money there, and it's going to ruin your holiday, man. Yeah. So again, I think with this, if you've looked at it in advance and you're tracking this throughout that period, then forearmed is forewarned, right? Forewarned is forearmed. So like in this case, and so firstly there are actions that you can take now to try to remedy that. But secondly is if you're going to be in a tough spot at some point, you can plan that with whoever you might be in a tough spot with. For example, your merchant. Hey, look, it's going to be really hard for me to make that payment on this date, but I can make it, early January on this date. Would that work? Is that going to be okay? And then that way it can take the stress out of things. Again, hopefully you're not having to do that, but if you are, you can take the stress out of it by just knowing it's coming and dealing with it in advance. So yeah.
Look, the last one is you just need to schedule. You want to have a good plan for this. One thing that we do with all of the members here in the program is we get them to do this really well in advance. Like in September, we're planning for this whole period, so we know when everything needs to happen. So there's a time in the calendar for when all of the marketing emails are getting written that we were talking about before. There's time in the calendar where we know that invoicing is going to be done, the back costing is going to be done, the accounts receivable calls are going to be made, the team event is going to happen, the team organization for that whole period is going to be communicated and then talked about and scheduled.
Rosters are locked in, projects are locked in, everything's locked in,
Yeah, and it's a simple thing to say, but do this well in advance. If you're listening to this today, I'd say you need to get onto this today. Book the time in your calendar to make your plan, and then put it in a calendar and put it somewhere. And it doesn't need to all be you. Like you don't need to do this whole thing. Everything that we've talked about, like some of it might be you. Actually, all of it might be you, depending on the size of your business. But if you've got people like your office manager or your operations manager, you got people running different functions in your business, like make a point of assigning accountabilities to different parts of this and bring them in on the plan and make sure that everyone has their part and their accountability, and then set everyone on their path to go and do it at the due dates. But once the plan's in the schedule and everyone knows what's happening, you can have a really thriving holiday period.
Not to mention, when you get busy, you can just follow that plan on autopilot, because your brain is not going to be functioning at its absolute best during December. It's just probably not. So
Yeah.
it's just kind of the way of the world. All right, well, I think we've covered some good stuff, so should we land this plane?
Yeah, dude.
All right, sweet. Well, hey, look, I think the holidays can be a really tough time for a lot of trades businesses, and there'll be a lot of people listening who have experienced this before and will know what I'm talking about. You know, you get that crazy December followed by that ghostly January, but it absolutely doesn't have to be this way, and the key is preparing in advance, starting this now and getting a really good plan in place for your cash flow, for your workflow, and for your team. You do that, you're going to have a much better Christmas. Your January is actually going to be good for once, and you can finally relax during those holidays and enjoy the time with your family. So thanks heaps for listening, and we'll catch you all again next time.
Cheers.
Congratulations on being part of a select group of savvy business owners who are taking their businesses to the next level. And to help you on your journey, don't forget to check out our show notes for a copy of our free book, The Profitable Tradie, and other valuable resources. Thanks for being a part of this special group, and we'll see you in the next episode of the Profitable Tradie podcast.